Hello, I'm Tyler Tully. EMVision Medical Devices, ticker EMV, is developing and commercialising world-first bedside and pre-hospital brain scanners to help reduce the global burden of stroke and traumatic brain injury. I'm joined now by company CEO and Managing Director Scott Kirkland. Scott, EMV has developed innovative brain scanning technology. Can you start by telling us how it works and the advantages compared to existing imaging techniques?
Sure, thanks Tyler. So we have two portable brain scanner products. We have an EMU bedside device, which is over my shoulder here, designed for in-hospital use. And then we have a first responder product designed for road and air ambulance. You can see it here. And the devices are very similar to millimeter wave scanners in the airport, in that there's a ring of antennas, and those scanners that you'd be familiar with send signals into clothes looking for hidden objects. We are sending our signals deep into the brain to help determine has the person had a stroke or not and what type. And we have a series of antennas that surround the head, sending and receiving these signals. And in terms of standard of care today, CT and MRI do a fantastic job when they are available. And that's the challenge. Stroke is so time sensitive, they're not always immediately accessible by the bedside in rural, regional settings, and certainly not in every ambulance. So our value proposition is portable, fast, accessible, easy to use, and cost effective.
So how will the products be used in a practical sense? Who are your customers and how big is the potential market?
So with stroke, because it is so time sensitive, there's a well-known saying, time is brain. And so what we're seeking to help enable is earlier triage, transfer, or treatment decisions. And those types of decisions that need to be made will vary depending on where the patient is and their condition. If they are in a rural or remote setting, clinicians may need to make a decision. Where do we send this patient next? Do we go to the next nearest hospital? Do we go to a large stroke centre because maybe they need specialised surgery? If they're in the back of an ambulance, we would love to open the door to be able to treat those patients at their home at the scene, particularly with blood pressure medication for confirmed hemorrhages, or potentially clot-busting drugs for those with blockages. In a larger hospital like an ICU or a stroke ward, clinicians there are very interested in keeping a closer eye on patients that may be at risk of deteriorating. Maybe they've had surgery and they're worried about perioperative stroke. So lots of different use cases. For our EMU, our bedside device, which is our first commercial product, we are focused on that in-hospital between stroke wards, ICUs, regional emergency departments. We're looking at around 10,000 units in the US alone. And then for our pre-hospital device, the first responder, for road and air ambulance, again in the US, there's about 60,000 road and air ambulances. So both markets, very, very large, multi-billion-dollar markets just in the US alone.
And can you talk us through the clinical results achieved so far and what the next steps are in terms of timelines to gain approval?
Sure. So last year we completed a successful 300-patient trial enrolling across Royal Melbourne, Liverpool Hospital and the Princess Alexandra Hospital in Brisbane, so all major stroke centres. We met our endpoints of that study. We used a large part of the data that we obtained to train our diagnostic algorithms, and then left us about 250 or so, and then tested on the rest. And what we saw was really high sensitivity and specificity to determine hemorrhage or not. So has a patient had a bleed in the brain, or ischemia or not, a blockage or not? And that's critical in stroke. First, you need to know, is it a stroke or not? And then if so, what type, before the appropriate treatment or care pathway can be activated. And again, today, that information can really only be obtained by a multi-million-dollar CT or MR, which are typically fixed. So following that trial, we had a meeting with the FDA to align on the design for our pivotal trial, which is commencing in the coming weeks. And that trial is designed to support an FDA de novo clearance for our EMU product, which paves the way for our first responder. So it becomes a predicate device to open up the 510K pathway for our first responder model. That trial, we are looking to enroll up to 300 suspected strokes at 4 sites in the US, 2 in Australia, and the estimated duration is anywhere between 6 to 12 months for recruitment.
So what's your cash position to fund the trial, and do you have any strategic investors on your share register?
Sure. So our cash position as of 30 December pro forma is 15.7 million. So we're well funded. These trials are particularly cost effective. In fact, surprisingly so. particularly if you were to compare it to a phase 3 pharma trial. So, for example, our pivotal is estimated to cost around $4 million, direct cost of the trial. So it is very cost effective. Likewise, we have a road and air study commencing with the first responder device. Again, very cost effective. And your last question, strategic investors, we're really fortunate to have a US technology company called Keysight Technologies that is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They have a market cap of around 27 billion, and they are a long-term collaborator of EMVision, a long-term supplier of ours, and we were fortunate to receive a $15 million investment from Keysight in February of last year. So they acquired 8.7% of EMVision at 205 to help accelerate our path to market.
Scott, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thanks, Tyler.